This is Greg for Teslafaninsight with our trade blast for today. It's the 20th of, it's the 19th of May 2020. So what we wanted to review today is that, as you noticed yesterday, Tesla opened up strong, ended up the day down, even though the market was up pretty dramatically. So we had a lot of folks sending us notes on as to why this occurred, given that there's a lot of good news to support Tesla being successful. And so I just wanted to sort of dive into that just for a little bit here. By the way, we have B-roll that's a little bit distorted deliberately from the Gigafactory behind me. So the issue that comes up with what we saw yesterday, I think, is the fact that there are certain 3-day rules that are really hard 3 days. It's new news. It wasn't anticipated. It is delivering a powerful boost to the stock because first there's a jolt that comes from the news coming out, and then the second part of it is that you have the 3 days for analysts to assess it, modify their plans for Tesla, and then the institutions start buying based on that plan. As you'll notice, we didn't get very many upgrades last week on Tesla off of the restart of the factory. Now this week is different because I believe that the fact that the factory is moving at full production rather than kind of warm-up production when it was unknown if they were going to be allowed to reopen, etc., was kind of a sign that it was a real restart, but it wasn't like the full deal. 200 cars a day or whatever they were doing was not a real full-bore production, even though it was delivering revenue as it was being done. So my suggestion is that with production confirmed, restarted at full bore, and also having batteries back at full bore, I think that's good. So, there were a couple of good notes. One, factory production restarted, and two, the obvious note yesterday was that the Gigafactory in Reno was back up under Panasonic, and that facility was now operating efficiently. So in theory, there should have been a nice push for the stock. The one problem I see with that analysis is that, yes, the facility was back and up and running, but the problem with it is that, or the problem with the information that came out is it tended to be more impactful for large institutions and less so for short-term traders. So I really think that as the plant comes on, it's really a Wednesday, Thursday phenomenon to make it a 3-day rule for that restart. And so I really think that this is one of the interesting parts of trading, be it Tesla or any other stock, where you'll notice something happens, the stock kind of pushes up, and then all of a sudden it kind of goes flatline, sideways, slightly down, and then all of a sudden, without new news, it starts to rise again. And I really think those are illustrations of the 3-day rule and how they might play out. And, based on my holdings that I've shared with you, I'm kind of leaning towards Shopify, maybe MELI. There are some other companies that are recent earnings announcements that the institutions are adjusting their holdings to reflect how well those companies are doing, especially during the virus. So, in essence, what I'm suggesting is that, it's terrific that, Tesla's in a good position. It's not really going down a lot, but it's also not accelerating in price as it usually does. One of the other problems that I'm feeling is lurking for Tesla right now is that if you look at all the analyst reports about what their numbers are or expected numbers are and how that translates into a stock price, one of the things that I've been seeing about Tesla is just the fact that there's this interesting issue, which is that there's kind of a few people in the sub 600, maybe to 650 zone. The biggest bulk of the people are kind of between 650 and about 800, like 750-ish, as the sort of target numbers based on profit and revenue. And then there's a final group that's in the top quartile. I think Goldman Sachs is at 864. So so one of the trends that can happen is that, there are some people that want to be at the bleeding edge on the top end of those numbers, and there are some people that are more comfortable, with guiding, buying more when it drops into a price range they like, 750, 760, 770, and then sort of sitting around waiting for new news to justify a lot higher prices. And we kind of don't have that yet. If we were seeing monster numbers coming out of Fremont, for sure, I think that would be the catalyst, because we knew then it would get in the S&P, and we're sort of rolling towards that right now, which is why I think Elon was upset, and he's really working hard right now to get this done. So all this to say, yeah, it was good news. Is it good? Is it short-term good news or long-term good news? Because the production was already known, it didn't represent a jolt to the stock like it did last week. And largely all the gains associated with the restart of production and the known date of start of reproduction on the 18th was kind of baked in. So now we're looking for powerful jolting numbers. And, having a comment come out of the Gigafactory from the head of Panasonic or stuff of this ilk is the type of news that's not necessarily jolting, because there's no numbers attached to it. It's a type of news that's appealing to long-term holders because it shows the underpinnings of the company are solid. The challenge, though, is for those long-term holders, it can take a while for sort of their process to be baked into what's happening with the stock. So therefore, I just feel as though we're in a zone right now where Tesla's doing fine, stock's doing okay, not fantastic. We're at or near sort of the approved level for where the stock should be. So I really think that, what we need is a catalyst of some sort, perhaps coming from the company, and news of some sort that would actually accelerate it towards the 850, 860, 870 zone. And then what starts to happen is we kind of had the short squeeze action help squeeze it right into the 900s. And so otherwise we kind of end up in the trading range we're in right now, and it makes it difficult to make money easily, because it's hard to predict what the stock is going to do. And then speaking of that, there's a phenomenon that I've noticed, and I'm sure you have too. I mean, watch Tesla stock yesterday. It opened up at 827, 829. It got to 835, I believe, at the apex. And then it sort of steadily dropped back down into the 810s or just below. So one of the issues that's been popping up for regular traders in the market is a lot of the juice in terms of profitability is being squeezed out prior to the open of the market. And so people getting in after open seem to lose out on the best ROI. So again, we had done a show about the fact that holding puts versus calls heavily might not be a bad idea, just because of the temperature of the market here. The bias tends to be negative unless you've done something terrific, in which case the stock price is pushed up highly. And so, obviously Tesla did that yesterday. I watched Moderna. It came out at 84, finished the day at 80, after hours at 75. And they have the great news about the coronavirus. But it really shows how a lot of the earnings are in after hours. And if you kind of want to make money, you may have to sort of get approval for after hours trading and deal with the huge spreads that you can see there to sort of find shares and make a few dollars before the market opens, if you want to concentrate on a stock like Tesla or a small group of stocks that are doing very well. So, yeah, this is my trade blast today of just the fact that, we had good news yesterday, but it's the kind of news that's more appealing to long-term holders and not so much to short-term hedge fund holders. Hence, you really didn't get the push in the stock price that you might have otherwise. If there were to be some 3-day, I think this week, we're kind of looking for something, Wednesday-ish, maybe Thursday, that allows us to get a nice push, because now the institutions are saying, hey, things are looking better from a demand standpoint, et cetera. At any rate, I want to take time to thank you for all joining us for our Trade Blast today. Also thank our Patreon supporters. Your support is greatly appreciated. Look forward to your comments and Best of luck as you head into the trading day. Don't forget to do your 25 leg lifts. Also encourage you 5-2 another diet, no more than once a week for fried foods. I'm actually doing multivitamins these days, so I wouldn't, I think that'd be a good idea as well. At any rate, thanks once again for joining us. Tschüss German, au revoir French, Liit Road, Hebrew, Choda Hafez, Farsi. In Jamaica, we say enough respect, walk good, hey do, Swedish, Zdravstvuyte, Russian, ni hao ma, Chinese. Have a great day, and bye for now.